Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David.
I'm Colin.
I'm Matt.
We talked about the order, guys.
Yeah. Forget about the order of things. That's fine.
Oh, wait, we're going around in a circle instead of...
Anyways, welcome to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars.
I'm David.
Okay, well, we're not doing this. Okay.
We know who you are.
Lead us off, David.
Yeah, you know who we are if you're watching us on YouTube. If you don't know, we are on YouTube, so go check us out. Star Wars Stuff Podcast. You'll see our logo.
Facebook, Twitter.
You can see our beautiful faces.
Yeah, our faces, pictures, sometimes videos. So yeah,
and sometimes at Galaxy's Edge.
Right. Yeah,
right.
Like last weekend and maybe tonight. So yeah, a lot of information dropped, and we weren't able to release a podcast last week. We got very busy. Everyone has lives, of course, and I went on a big family vacation, and I went to Orlando, and
I didn't see you once.
He did that on purpose.
I tried, Colin.
I know.
I tried. I said, let's go to dinner.
Right, but here's the thing, though. You picked one of the most expensive restaurants. A plate at Boston Feast Lobster is $57.81, and you wanted to go at 9 o'clock at night when I had training at 7 a.m. the next morning.
I was gonna pay for you.
You didn't say that.
Oh.
It's like, I would have just
I
paid for
you. Wow,
Colin.
Dude,
we got ourselves a gold digger here.
No, I probably wouldn't have went because I've been training for Disney stuff all week.
Yeah,
so,
it's
been
and you
chaotic.
just started your job at Disney World, essentially. Yeah,
I did. I went and I had my traditions and everything, and it was magical. It was awesome. And during my class, they were talking about Galaxy's Edge, and they asked someone to explain about the story of Star Wars, and my hand went right up, and they went over to me, and I started off saying, just let you know, I'm probably the biggest Star Wars fan you'll ever meet. And there was 189 people in there, and it was
wow.
Yeah, so yeah, no.
And you saw 5 of the guys stand up and
They're gonna fight you on that.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's awesome. It is very cool, and it's been something I've always wanted to do. So, yeah,
awesome. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that Ewan McGregor, Ming-Na Wen, and Carrie Fisher are all getting their stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yeah,
finally.
About time.
Yeah.
We still need one for Hayden, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to get one eventually after the Darth Vader series that they're going to drop here. So that's what I think. But yeah, the way that the Hollywood Walk of Fame works is the way I understand it. I hope it still works this way because I read a big article on it. But you're invited to have a star, but I think you have to pay about $25,000 to get it. So once you pay the fee, then you get put into the upcoming queue of people that want it. A lot of people have turned it down. I can't think off the top of my head the famous celebrities that have turned it down, but it does happen. But yeah, I'm glad that everyone from Star Wars that accepted. I'm super excited to see that class go in and to see the videos later on YouTube, because you can totally go on YouTube and watch the ceremonies. I've done it for Mark Hamill, who was the most recent, I think, and Harrison Ford showed up, George Lucas showed up. They gave really short speeches. They were entertaining, so I suggest you go to YouTube and watch them. Easily findable. But yeah, Ming-Na Wen, I mean, you think about her credentials. She's been Mulan. She was Chun-Li in Street Fighter in live action. And of course, she was in the Joy Luck Club, and she's been around for quite a while. And now she's a really huge character in Star Wars. And what we've seen in the Bad Batch, Fennec Shand, and Book of Boba Fett coming up too. And of course, she's a huge Star Wars fan. And all the interviews she's done, she's talked about being a fan, and she's shown her merch. I think the last picture I saw, she had a Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi lightsaber. And yeah, I'm excited to watch those videos because I don't think I'll be there in person, but it would be cool to be there in California when that happens. But
for
Ewan and Ming-Na Wen. Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. So The other thing that kind of happened, so it looks like Temuera Morrison is talking, and he's talking a lot. And it's funny because at the beginning of his interviews, he'll say, "I can't say much," but he starts saying stuff, and then at the very end, he'll kind of give us like a little nugget. So he talked about the fact that it was great filming with Robert Rodriguez, but he said that there were multiple episodes that he directed. So that kind of tells us that other directors were used for the Book of Boba Fett. And we don't have that list yet, but
yeah, I was gonna say, do we actually know the number of how many episodes that there's gonna be?
I don't think we have a finite number.
Okay.
Matt, I guess if you could verify that. I think it's
So-
going to be...
As my cat walks in front of my camera once again, I think the Book of Boba Fett. For those listening on podcast, I just flung my cat onto my bed. She's fine. Don't worry about it. But I'm looking like I'm on Wikipedia right now because that's like one of my go-tos for information on Star Wars.
Of course.
And it doesn't say any specific numbers.
Yeah, it's going to be 6 or 8, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's really not giving me anything. So
I am hoping that because of something that I've noticed with these new projects is like they like start out to be super long, and then as the episodes like come out, they get shorter and shorter, and that's what happened with Bad Batch. That's what kind of happened with The Mandalorian. So hopefully, we like get decently long episodes with the Book of Boba Fett, because there probably isn't going to be a season 2. If there is, I mean, that would be great, but we'll have to see. I'm seeing David's face, and he's like,
I think there's going to be a season 2.
okay.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a huge success. And with these rumors I'm going to talk about at the very end of the episode, I think there's a whole lot of potential for a season 2.
Okay. I agree. But I think that, if a story was to continue, it would go back into, the third season of The Mandalorian. Because of I'm okay with another season of the Book of Boba Fett, because of we'll be seeing old and new characters, which is fantastic. But I'm also like really curious on how they're gonna fit that into the schedule with, especially next year, because it's gonna be crazy, guys. Like that's gonna be the year of Star Wars. Like right now, people are freaking out from that new trailer of Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, where we see Abomination of Wong. Think about next year when we see a trailer at the end of this year, when we see the trailer of Kenobi, and we see Anakin come back and Obi-Wan and possibly Ahsoka. Like it's gonna be nuts for 2022 for Star Wars. And I'm just curious of what the roster is going to be like, and what the roster is going to be like in 2023. Because of we know some of the projects, and I just don't want if it feels like the story like ends in season, in this season of the Book of Boba Fett, then I'm curious, if they're just going to be like, oh hey, you know what, this did good, let's just add more story to it, when there really isn't no more story. So I'm going to be very curious on how they do that.
Yeah, The Mandalorian actually Book of Boba Fett is being referred to as The Mandalorian Season 2.5.
Okay.
So that tells us a lot of stuff, in just the fact that they're talking about it that way. I mean, we're probably going to see characters from The Mandalorian, and that's what's being speculated on. It's being rumored upon. So I don't think us waiting for The Mandalorian is going to be that bad, because we're going to kind of get Mandalorian type stuff this Christmas.
I know that Jon Favreau, he did an interview with Good Morning America, and he clarified that he wanted the audience to make sure that that they knew that the shows were in fact 2 separate shows that had interlining plot points that like may intertwine with each other. But he wanted to make it important that people knew that they were separate. The fact that people were calling it season 2.5, he obviously heard them, and he's like, I want you to know that they're not the same show. They're on completely separate bases, and even though they may have interlining plot points and it points some even the same characters that may show up in either one, that he wanted to just incentivize and make sure that everyone knew that they were separate. And I don't know what that means for the shows. I think that there, with every show, there's a specific type of artistic way that they'll go with things. Like with the Mandalorian, it seems like there's this Western feel to it a lot of the time. And with the Book of Boba Fett, we might see it go in a different direction, artistically, in terms of like the way that they film it, the strategies that they use to relay different character development. And I think that's all dependent upon the directors. And as we talked about with Rodriguez, he has had similar workings with other directors in the series of like The Mandalorian and the style that they direct. And as I say, it's different for every director and how they move within the show. And I think it's important that we realize that they are separate. They are being portrayed in the same universe, obviously, with same plot points, but they're different in the ways that they're produced, the ways that they're delivered to the audiences. And I think that, like what Colin was said, he said that he would more than be welcome to the idea of a season 2 of Book of Boba Fett or there further on. I don't want the plot of Book of Boba Fett to be milked too much to where the point where you're just watching subpar Star Wars. And what I mean by that is that if you watch like The Revenge of the Sith, and you watch like the extended edition, and then there's the ultimate extended edition, and they just like include different plot points from like the Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that. Get out. And I just think that it's important that we know that they are separate, that they have some similarities, but they will. If you're expecting it to be like The Mandalorian, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Because I will add to what you're saying, Matt, is that there's going to be people watching this that are going to be like, oh my gosh, like it's season 3 of The Mandalorian, when it's going to be its own thing, and that might draw people away because they'll be like, where's Baby Yoda? Where's Grogu? And it makes sense why Jon Favreau wanted to make it clear that these shows are going to be its own thing, but they will be connected in the end, where there's going to be like a big climax, like of this giant battle. And that's great. That's fine. But people got to understand that this is not season 3 of The Mandalorian. So you will not see Grogu and Mando, walking around and in the background, at Boba Fett's palace when Max Rebo is on the piano with his band. It's not going to happen. So
I'm pretty sure he's retired at this point.
Nope.
I think it's Boba Fett and Mandalorian are a lot like Clone Wars and Bad Batch, where they're set in the same like direct universe and timeline, and they coincide with each other, but they're still 2 separate projects.
Correct. Yeah.
Agreed.
Even though Bad Batch feels like, season 8 of the Clone Wars, kind of.
Exactly.
Even at the beginning of every episode, they say Clone Wars, Bad Batch. I'm like, they're not okay.
But yeah,
they're very similar. I think that Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian are going to be more separated than the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars. Shut up, because they're so similar, Bad Batch and Clone Wars, and the way that the animation style and a lot of the character development, and even the just the what's the word I'm thinking of, the soundtrack in the background. It's a lot. They reuse a lot of.
It's. So
music.
So okay, no, I know we're kind of contradicting ourselves, but I think I think the Bad Batch is a very special it's okay. So the same people that made that show made Clone Wars. Like, it's Dave Filoni, the person who did the same music is
that's what I'm saying.
Kiner. So we are contradicting ourselves in that particular thing.
No,
I
haven't
said anything yet.
I'm saying that Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian are going to be far more separate than Clone Wars.
And you're like, man, he's just digging himself a hole.
I'm not doing
entire, thing that Matt just said, but but yeah. So no. Besides Bad Batch and Clone Wars, like Kenobi, Mando, all of those shows are its own thing. Now, Bad Batch is like a sequel to the Clone Wars, like a direct sequel. It takes the very end of the Clone Wars and just shows it to a different point of view, and that's what it is. But with Mando and Book of Boba Fett, we're telling these individual stories where it's not a continuous, like it's not like, hey, like directly after Mando, this is exactly what's happening. It's going on the adventures of Boba and Fennec Shan and stuff, and that's why they had Fennec Shan in the Bad Batch, so people could get more hyped about her being like exploring her character more in the Book of Boba Fett. But yeah.
Yep.
I disagree. I think we're seeing everyone. I think we're seeing Luke, Grogu,
What?
all the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back. We're getting everyone
You
in
really
the
think
mom.
Luke Skywalker is going to show
Bossk is
up?
gonna bust up in there and blow
Bossk
some
and
boys
maybe
up.
his son. We're gonna get Omega. I mean, we're gonna get everyone.
We're gonna get grown up Omega. She's like
Yeah.
full on mercenary, missing an eye or something.
Cyborg Omega. Yeah. So I think we're gonna get everyone. That's just my opinion.
Mace Windu, that
Maybe not that far, but yeah.
that one youngling that was like, Master Skywalker, there's too many of them.
That
And
guy's
no
still
one
around.
doesn't care. Yeah, no, I got it. Okay, all right.
I saw a picture of the actor that played that boy in Hayden Christensen recently, and I was like, "Get away! Run! Run! Run!"
I think I think this would be fun, but I think we should come up with some type of like pool of where we make bets on who's going to show up in the Book of Boba Fett.
I don't have money.
Well, not actual money. Not actual
You'll
money.
put up your Star Wars memorabilia as collateral.
Like no. God. But like we could have some type of event, and then the person who gets the most gets a shout out on the podcast or something like that. Like who gets the most characters right or something. Because if David thinks everyone's going to show up, so
Yeah, I think everyone's showing up.
Okay.
Jabba.
Well,
I think everyone's showing up.
okay.
Well, if you guess everyone, you
Jabba
can't
the
be
Hutt's
wrong.
son.
You'll cover someone.
That
Yeah.
is a possibility.
Stinky.
That's a possibility. Stinky
Stinky.
could
Yeah.
totally show up.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pictures being taken on the set of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And of course, we know that Indira Varma, I believe that's the way you pronounce her name,
Correct.
she was spotted in a certain uniform. I guess this is kind of a spoiler, but of course, we all know in the history of Star Wars, people can wear certain uniforms that they're not affiliated to. So I'm going to put it up on the screen here. If you don't want to be spoiled, just skip through this. But here's her wearing, I believe, the black robes that they stick on the actors so that they hide from paparazzi and people taking
They did
pictures.
not hide very well. Just like
No.
Yeah, which I'm about to show you. I mean, they were very
no,
nonchalant with
They-
hiding
yeah.
what they look
They
like. So
just walked out in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna
so-
say, try hiding that because that's not working very well.
yeah, she maybe should have taken the hat off,
Yeah.
or maybe she's like throwing us off the scent. I
So-
don't know.
Okay, so and something I've noticed about this Imperial costume is that you can kind of tell that it's in the early stages of like it being a full Imperial officer costume because if it doesn't have that flap, like the Imperial officers' uniforms don't have that flap normally.
Yeah.
And I believe that is like a Rogue One TK because of that like knee pad thing right there is not the ones that we see in A New Hope. So
Who
okay.
is that? Is
that is like one of the
is
first.
that Joel Egerton? Or
That looks like Ray Park in a TK.
It is just a
Okay.
random guy in a TK. Who's that
Hey.
guy? It's just a guy for now.
It could
But,
be a guy. It could be
guy.
a guy.
But yeah, so they are like it's gonna be awesome because of this is gonna be like in the early stages of what we see the Empire really become because of I believe it get like around this time this is when the Empire is really in its prime, and also I think that I think that in the beginning of Solo and the beginning of Rogue One, it's taken around 8 years after Revenge of the Sith, and the show takes place and Kenobi takes place what 8 or 10
years.
10 years. Okay, shoot. I was gonna say
10-year-old Luke.
okay.
10-year-old Luke.
Okay, well that kind of blows my theory out of the water. But yeah, no. It should be cool to see like the early stages.
Wait, now I kind of want to hear what your theory was. I'm
Well,
curious now.
Well, because of in the beginning of Rogue One and in the beginning of Solo, it's taking place in the same year. So those opening scenes are taking place in the same year. And I was going to say, if Kenobi's taking place at years, it's also happening around the same timeline. So I was going to be really curious on why they kept doing that. But now my whole theory is blown.
So what you're saying, but a little bit different, is that while Kenobi's happening, Han Solo is actually fighting for the Empire, right? Isn't he? Because he was
technically, because it says
in the
years
infantry.
Later. Yeah.
Because he tried to be a pilot and he got kicked out of the academy, and that was a year and some months in, and so for 10 years into this, and it started at 8 years, and then it started at 8 years at the beginning of Solo, and then 2 years later, he's an infantry soldier fighting for the Empire. So Solo is an Imperial trooper at the same time that Kenobi's happening. Right?
Well, I don't.
Solo would be 20 years old when Kenobi is taking place, because he's 10 years older than Leia.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think he's an Imperial trooper at this point. I'm gonna have to go look at some timelines for that. BRB.
But yeah, so no, it should be really interesting to see, of the prime of the Empire, and Darth Vader is in his prime right now because he's like going to planets and taking people out and stuff. So I bet when he hears in some way that Kenobi's alive, he's gonna drop everything and he's gonna be like, that's my main priority. I'm going there, and then it's just gonna be a manhunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi. But it will be awesome. What are you guys' predictions for the show?
Well, I just want to touch on the fact that if Hayden Christensen does an incredible job playing Anakin / Darth Vader in the Kenobi series, and the Kenobi series is a smash hit, which we're all anticipating it to be, there's going to be a Vader show. And that's something that I've been wanting since the start of Disney Plus. And then we can really see him in his prime. And with all these new screenwriters, Michael Waldron, who I'm about to talk about next, the MCU is knocking it out of the park with shows on Disney Plus, and it looks like they're kind of talking to each other across the hallway there at Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and which leads me to my next story. My boy Kevin Feige is doing a Star Wars film sometime in the future, but it looks like Michael Waldron is going to be working with Kevin Feige in that Star Wars film that Kevin Feige is producing. And he did an interview with GQ, and this is what he had to say. It's very early days on Star Wars. That's probably the thing I can say least about, unfortunately. The thing Kevin Feige shares in common with Dan Harmon and with Sam Raimi is an absolute collaborative spirit and a remarkable lack of ego, given that he's accomplished. Kevin is a great listener. He wants to hear your ideas, take it how you might do something, and then help you make it better. Beyond all that, he's just a cool guy. Then he also says, in response to writing on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, how could stuff be applied to Star Wars from the MCU? Michael Waldron says, I think the success of the MCU is for the amazing science fiction and concepts and all that stuff. Ultimately, the success is built upon the characters, their humanity, and their relatable conflicts, friendships, and the family that is like the MCU. And I think Star Wars, at its best, is a story about family. Han, Luke, and Leia were a family. You love seeing them together, and you hated it when they were split apart. It's great characters. That's nothing new. I'm not going to blow anybody's mind with that headline, but that's my biggest takeaway, which is music to my ears. I mean, this guy, Michael Waldron's knocking it out of the park with Loki, and if he works with Kevin Feige and hopefully continues to work in the Star Wars universe, I totally endorse it.
I agree.
I'm absolutely loving Loki, so any production value from that brought into Star Wars is just going to be so amazing.
And he's a producer of Rick and Morty. I don't know if anyone's seen that, but
yeah,
he's got some comedic values in him.
Yeah, I just don't want to see time travel in
Loki.
Star Wars like any more than we have to. So
I don't think he would do that.
Hey,
I don't think so.
I don't know if you watched the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special, man, but they went full out time travel in that. Like,
If
Hey,
they do
that's
time
definitely not
travel,
canon. It's definitely not canon, and it's definitely for child.
hey, you know what? You know what? There are parts in there that I consider canon personally.
That's
But-
okay, but I don't.
I think if Star Wars is going to do time travel, they need to bring in writers from Doctor Who to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they need to
'cause-
give him a way bigger budget than Doctor Who does.
Yes.
Do not
Well,
diss
I mean,
Doctor Who.
I'm not
Doc-
dissing Doctor Who. I'm definitely a Whoian, but I'll tell you right now that they intentionally give Doctor Who a smaller budget just so that they can try their best to imitate the movie magic that they used in the earlier series.
Yeah.
Knowing that like the MCU has like so much money in their hands, and now that he's on his way over to Star Wars and they have even a greater budget, I believe. I just think that if we were to bring anyone from the Doctor Who, area or side of things, which is kind of, I don't know how far-fetched it may or may not be at this point, but definitely have to step up their CGI game.
yeah, I can't argue on that one. But I will say it's better than it was with the Ninth Doctor. But at that point, you had nowhere to go but up.
All right, we're on Star Wars Stuff Podcast, and I don't want to start talking crap about David Tennant, or I love them all.
Okay. So, anyways, David, continue.
All right, so we've been waiting to hear news of Star Wars Visions, and it looks like we got some news. So, the news is that there's going to be an anime expo
Yes.
that's happening, and we're going to get our first footage there. There was a panel that happened. Actually, a panel is going to take place on July 3rd at 3 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be 30 minutes long, and Lucasfilm had this to say. Today, Anime Expo announced that Lucasfilm will bring a galaxy far, far away to Anime Expo Light this July with the panel Star Wars Vision sneak preview. Joined hosts Chastity, Vicencio, and Lucasfilm executive producers Jackie Lopez, James Waugh, and Josh Rhimes. Looks like Quebec Pictures and co-executive producer Justin Leach and producer Kanako Shirasaki for an inside look at Star Wars Visions before the series debuts on Disney Plus later this year. So we don't know exactly when it's going to hit, but it seems like it's going to hit sometime in the fall. So hopefully, I've said this in the past, we get something like an Animatrix style offering from Visions, which is all anime style media that we're going to get on Disney Plus. So hopefully we get new stories. I've heard that they're going to give us maybe a little bit of a rehash of stories we already know, but just in anime form, which we have been getting little clips on YouTube on the Star Wars channel of stories we've seen before, and they look pretty cool. And I kind of wonder if Lucasfilm got inspiration from all those old anime clips that some animators did a while back of like the TIE Fighter X-Wing battle that's like really cool and it's like really like fast and intense, just right up George Lucas's alley. So
I love fan films, and I know that you love fan films too. But like honestly, they are gonna take over one day. Because of that one that you're talking about is almost 10 years old, and it's still amazing. Like
Still
it was
talked
done
about,
so
like
well.
even if it's as if it's a canon part of the universe. I hear people talking about it. I'm like, wait, you know that's a fan film, right?
Yeah. So like I mean, and I think we talked about this on the last podcast, but I think people who are like that make fan films and stuff. I think Lucasfilm should have a contest. I think they should totally like have a contest to see who can do the best fan film, and if Lucasfilm likes it, then have them make the next film or show or something. But yeah, no. How many episodes do you think that they'll have of Visions? Because I guarantee they won't be super long. Like they'll like probably be shorts, right?
I think that given that it's in this anime style and that it has producers who have worked with other different animations before in the past, and you're right. I believe that the episodes will be like 21, 22 minutes a piece. I think that we're looking from anywhere between 16 to 26. That's my range of episodes. Just because I know that they're really short, and they I don't know, they're very loosely going off of, you know, past shows that they have, like, you know, like the Clone Wars were really short episodes, and Rebels and stuff like that, and they don't have to deal with like TV spots like the Clone Wars and Rebels. They don't have to worry about like the commercials that go in between them and stuff like that. And I know that they'll be shorter, and I just think that most animes that I've ever seen, usually a season that isn't going crazy bonkers with the amount of episodes that they do, usually do somewhere between late teens to mid 20s for episodes numbers anyways. And I'm just super excited for it because I love anime of all kinds, and this style of animation I'm just super excited for. And I also love like comic book style animation too at the same time, and I know that they take some inspiration from that, you know, with the color schemes and with the concepts that they have, and I'm just super excited for it. But like I said, 16-26 is my range.
I've never been a big fan of I've never been the biggest fan of anime. So I think it's a interesting call on them doing it. I mean, I'm excited to see it because it's Star Wars, but
Right.
It should be interesting. Does
Ray?
anyone else have any comments? Yeah.
He's like,
I've never really been that big of a fan of the animation style. When like growing up, I always watched like Disney, which is very like soft and fluid animation. And then like my cousins always had like Pokemon on, which is a lot sharper and choppier animation. And so like that's basically my only frame of reference. And so I've just never really been a fan. I've always liked the more fluid movement. But I'm curious to see like how it is now. 'Cause I mean, that was like how many years ago?
Yeah, because I mean, an animation style, what you mentioned with the frame by frame movements that they do a lot of the time, it's like they like intentionally do that with a lot of different with like Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki, his movements are very sudden and like choppy as well. But if you go into something like the Seven Deadly Sins, which is another popular anime you can find on Netflix right now with the new season, they have way more fluid and rounded edges and very artistic hand painted backdrops in most of their set scenes, kind of like you saw like with a lot of the skylines in Clone Wars, how you could like see the brushstrokes and stuff like that in their animation style. So like when I look at like some of the concept art from the Vision series that's been released, like that triangular one with the master and the apprentice in that picture, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but that one has like this animation style that reminds me more of like a traditional Japanese art form. And I think that came from, you know, some of the influence from some of the producers that are on the show, like Kaneko Shiraskai. I'm saying it wrong. Shirasaki. That's it. I'm gonna go with that one. Like, yeah, like if I just like look up like the IMDb, sorry, my words are not okay today, I will see that like this person has, I don't even know what I'm looking at now, but they have influences from other people who have been in animation for decades. So the idea that they're taking influences from the Clone Wars and influence and putting it into the concept of animation style, it's interesting to me. And I know that a lot of people have no idea or have very limited experiences, such as Ray, with animations. It's going to be a very eye-opening experience for those people because they'll be forced to watch Star Wars, something that they like, I have to see this because it's Star Wars, like Colin said. They'll be forced to see it in a concept that they have not previously been exposed to, and I think that is really cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, Star Wars has a very interesting relationship with the Asian market. Star Wars is not as popular as it is in the States compared to over there in Asia. And I know there's a lot of like controversy with the posters that they produce for The Force Awakens, and the fact that the Asian market doesn't like it when you have ghostly figures in film. So there was, I think, controversy over the tint of blue that Luke was in The Rise of
Oh, yeah.
Skywalker. But I'm thinking that Dave Filoni had an influence in doing this Vision show because he's from an anime background. He worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he's talked about anime. And he will say anime, not anime. And I found that kind of interesting when he talked about the past. He also worked on King of the Hill as well. But yeah, I mean, it feels like that Dave Filoni maybe had a hand and said, "Hey, this is something we might want to look in." And I myself personally, I am not interested in anime at all, but I keep on going back to those little shorts that they did for the Matrix, the Animatrix. Those are really, really good. If you haven't seen them, watch them. The original Matrix and then the Animatrix are probably the best two things that they've done. But should be interesting, should be fun. And of course, like Matt said, if it's Star Wars, I'm going to watch it. So it's going to be on Disney Plus. So we all pretty much have that. So we all went trooping. Everyone that's in the 501st, I think, on the podcast last weekend.
Sorry, Matt.
So yeah, I got to wear my A New Hope TIE Fighter costume.
I couldn't even see you
armor.
guys.
Yeah. So yeah, here I am in the Texas sun, outside. Yeah. So yeah, I was there at Dragon Lair Comics, and we had a celebrity make a trip down here, who is Gekko the Bounty Hunter from The Mandalorian Season 1, which is the actor, and you've probably seen him before in other stuff, but of course he's Gekko in The Mandalorian, and I got to take a picture with him.
Gekko?
No.
Yeah, so his character made he was in episode 1 for a brief second of The Mandalorian, and then he was in episode 3 of The Mandalorian for a brief second. You can see him standing behind David, help me out.
I'm not quite. I know he's in episode 1 for a brief second, like you said, and then he's in
episode
I believe
3.
The Sin, which was directed by Deborah Chow.
Yeah.
So he was directed by Dave Filoni and Deborah Chow.
Yeah. But he just makes a brief cameo in there.
Yeah.
But this guy's a huge Star Wars fan, and he wants to be more involved in it. So he's been going around, and he's been meeting people and stuff. And I think he's an honorary member of the 501st, right?
Yes,
Now
he's
he
an
is?
honorary member, and he's actually our very first guest on the podcast.
Oh,
we
yeah.
did a podcast a while back, me, James, and Dominic Pace,
Yeah.
and he talked to us for a good while, and he said he wants to be back on the podcast, and it's just finding some time because he's actually traveling the country again. He did this trip last year. I wasn't able to meet him then, but I met him this time. But he's going basically huge city to huge city all around the country during the summertime with his son. And he's trying to help small business out as well, because during the pandemic, he was kind of promoting all that. And yeah.
And not only did you meet him, but you actually met the founder of the 501st when you went to Disney this week.
By chance.
I was going to get to that later, Colin.
Oh, he's like,
I know. Well, I mean, I
Spoilers.
know, but I figured since we
Spoilers
were
for the
talking,
podcast.
I
cut that.
figured
We'll
if we were
cut it.
talking about the 501st, then you might as well talk about.
And I met
meeting the
someone
founder.
else who's as famous as well.
Kathleen Kennedy. Nope. All right.
Little cooler.
Who
Yeah, I think
What?
maybe a lot cooler.
is
Oh.
it? The
We'll talk
Is
about
it-
it at the end.
We'll get there when we get there.
He said, I gotta wait.
wow.
Just like everybody else, Colin.
Okay. Well, Sam, Ray, and I also went trooping that same day that David did, and that was Sam's first troop. And Sam takes pride in being one of the only people in the world that actually perfectly made the tray and cup from the second season of The Mandalorian. I think there it is. Yeah. So he was really, really excited about that. But he was also geeking out the entire time because of just doing something like this, loving something. That's great. But if you can give back to something that has given so much to you, then I feel like you really have made that accomplishment of being a Star Wars fan. And to me, every time I wear my TK, and I bet every time Rey puts on her costume, like it's just so rewarding because we work so hard on it, and then you can share that joy with so many other people because I remember at the place where we were at where we took this picture, people kept coming up and they're like, oh, like this is awesome, like how do I join? And that was the first troop that I've done like in a year and a half, and I just remember just being like, man, I miss this so much. So trooping is awesome. If you ever get the chance, go and see us at conventions and stuff and make your own costume. It's fantastic.
I feel like you're talking directly to me. God
yeah, I know.
Join us. One of us.
Working.
One of us.
Okay. I hear you, and I'm gonna, as soon as I know this podcast, I'm gonna drive over to my parents' place. I'm gonna go in their garage. I'm gonna pull out my unfinished Phase 2 Captain Rex armor, and I'm gonna finish it just because you said that. All right.
I've known you almost.
I know.
The first time that we ever hung out really was you work on Rex.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know. And that was also the same day that I made a very big mistake, and I was like, I'm done. I'll come back to it when I feel like it. Here we are 3 years later, and I'm like, am I going to get back to it?
Hey, if I could finish Sabe, you can finish Rex.
Yes.
Yes.
I was disappointed that I didn't get to see you wear it.
Both events that we had that day were outside, and I don't want to risk taking Sabe outside until I know the headdress can be safely secured, because it could easily be knocked over in the wind. Yeah. And also it was supposed to be incredibly hot, and I also don't know how it will hold up with heat being paper mache.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to take that risk, and I figured I'd go something safe with Rey.
We should have just like a podcast where you just explain, like not just you, Rey, but all of you just explain the physical aspects that go behind trooping. If you haven't already, like what it took to create it, because like the idea of your headpiece being made primarily out of paper mache just astonishes me. Because when you see the final product, you're like, that's her headpiece, that's it, and like you're like, paper mache. You said what now? Mache of paper? No way. No way.
I do have a website where I outlined my entire process for building the whole costume.
Plug it right now.
theroyalcroissant.weebly.com.
That's the dream. That's the dream right there.
Theroyalcroissant.com.
Hey, I don't have enough money to get an actual domain, so it's theroyalcroissant.weebly.com.
Still awesome.
We'll have to give a link to it in Instagram or something.
Eventually we'll like probably, which I think we've done a couple episodes where we talk about the 501st on our Patreon, but I know Sam would go, like he would dive deep into making his, because of Sam worked on his costume for 9 months straight. He like has like the small version of the 3D printer. So it took him a long time.
Yeah, but don't ask a mechanical engineer to explain how I made something.
No.
Because he'll tell you.
Yeah. That like thing was made so well. So yeah, no, I would join the Power first because con season is back. Because of I saw on the forum pages, nice. That there are six. There are six conventions that you can sign up for, because I think there's Motor City Comic Con, like I'm talking about Michigan area, David, sorry, but there's Grand Rapids Comic Con, Motor City Comic Con, Tulip City, like Cherry Capital. There are so many conventions coming back. And
I'm definitely
crazy.
Cherry Festival.
It's crazy because a year ago most of us were thinking like the pandemic is going to last
a
very long time. Yeah, and now it's just like boom, conventions are back, costuming, troopings are back. So
with proper vaccination.
Yes.
Get vaccinated.
Yeah. So exciting stuff.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Dominc Pace here. He's a really nice guy. He's the kind of celebrity, Star Wars celebrity that you want doing Star Wars, because he's a hardcore Star Wars fan. He's great with the fans. I had a long conversation with him, multiple conversations with them. I basically kind of ate lunch with him at the troop, and I was like, I got to get stuff signed by him. And he did sign a few things here that I have. He had some Beskar here, and he signed it for me.
The picture is still.
I can still see his Beskar though.
Okay.
Yeah, you can still see it on the side. So yeah, he signed some
There you
Beskar
go.
for me. He
That Beskar is so expensive, isn't it?
yeah, he gave me some Imperial credits as well
Oh snap!
that I got right here.
There you
move
go.
it
Oh,
right.
nice. There you go.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
Now, what are
he
those like
also
made out
had
of? Are those
coins.
like plastic or what, like?
3D printed, I believe.
Okay.
So he also has his coin. You can see
Wow,
this on
you
YouTube here.
you love coins.
Yeah, I really do.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
pretty
he does.
awesome.
Well, speaking of which, David, I do have a coin for you when I see you in September.
I was just there, Colin.
I know. I'm sorry.
He's like, you couldn't go out to lunch with me and give it to me then?
Well,
Or dinner at 9 p.m. or whatever.
Well, it's not with me in Florida. It's in Michigan because I got my
that a
TK
sticker?
in Michigan.
Yeah, it's a sticker.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he gave me a sticker for my
Wow.
crate there.
He's really hooking you up with some memorabilia, isn't he?
Yeah. He
Oh my
also
gosh.
has some fan created
Wow.
comic books. So this is a comic book.
Shout out to Dominc Pace for being a true player.
And someone also reprinted.
That's
I forgot what the artist's name is, but I put this up on the Facebook group podcast page. But yeah, he signed that as well. And here's another. I got another comic book from him where he signed. So,
in sometime this summer, you are going to a convention where you're going to be able to possibly meet Hayden and
Ewan, right?
McGregor, right?
not possibly. I'm meeting him.
He's like, what do you do? I bought the VIP, idiot.
Well, yeah, but just to clarify, you are getting something signed for me, right?
I don't know about that. Have you?
I will send you something in the mail.
You
and I will. Yep, I'll do that.
So, what did you want signed?
like
Just
a
an
picture.
autograph, just like a
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we
Please.
would have met for dinner, you could have given me something. I could have brought up.
I'll send you.
Wow.
I'll send you my legacy
Wow.
lightsaber, and you can have.
Okay. Well, how about this? How about that can be a wedding present?
Oh wow! Way to use your wedding to get.
I'm not
going to
tell you what I'm going to get you for your wedding.
Way to use your happiness to get into his
Yeah.
ends. You know.
I
happiness
tried.
and
I
success.
mean, I ironically though, this is actually a true story. We we put a Lego set on our registry.
No, you did. I had no idea.
And then we ended up, getting it in the mail.
Oh my
So-
gosh.
So
Yeah,
somebody
so-
bought you that and sent it
Yeah.
to you already.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Because they knew that he couldn't wait. He had to have it now.
Man, I mean, come on. Yeah.
So did you at least cross that off the register? You're gonna wait for
Oh,
someone
yeah,
else
yes,
to send you
yes.
another one.
No.
He's like, give me more. No, he just
because of-
replaced it with a different Lego set. He's like, I want the
Well-
Millennium Falcon now.
Well, there are 2 Lego sets technically on there. So if people
Dibs on
really
the other
wanna-
one.
Okay, it is. It's the $200 one. So appreciate it. Thanks, man.
No.
But
So
yeah.
in other news,
Yeah.
so Emilia Clarke did a podcast with Josh Horowitz, and
The
she
love
did
of my
talk
life.
about
Sorry,
Qi'ra returning, and he asked about. They talked about a whole bunch of other stuff. I think they talked about Secret Invasion, which he's going to be in on Disney Plus. But he brought up the fact that all this Make Solo 2 happen stuff has risen again during the May 4th week, and she said that makes me so happy because I love Qi'ra, loved her, really, really did. I loved Han. I love the story. I love the people. I love the experience. It was one of those where, if you know too much about a celebrity and you go and watch that movie and you're just thinking about how many kids Angelina Jolie has. I don't know. This is not making sense. And I feel like our movie is that. Everyone went in knowing what our dirty laundry looked like, and you couldn't separate that gossip from the overall experience. But I'm so over the moon that people are posthumously enjoying it. She's talking about Solo 2 reaction, make Solo 2 happen, that whole movement. But right afterwards, he asked Qi'ra about the Lando series and if Qi'ra could potentially return, and she basically said, I've heard nothing, absolutely nothing, but a Lando show makes so much sense. And she says, give that man a show. And I mean, all kinds of Qi'ra-centric stuff has popped up in comics and rumors. So I don't know if she's really playing like coy and just like not saying anything or what, but it feels like she's coming back. I've said it before. When an actor signs on to do Star Wars, they're signing on to do multiple projects.
So I'm just trying to think what the timeline will be for the Lando show. Like, is that show going to take place after the events of Solo, or is that going to take place before the events of Solo? Because
I want to say after.
Yeah, well, I mean, because of technically, it sounded like Lando and Qi'ra did have a history, so
right.
So I could totally see it being a prequel, but I could also seeing it, being a sequel to it, and Lando kind of trying to figure everything out, because he lost the Falcon,
right?
So how will he cope with that, and then we'll see how he really won, the actual thing of Cloud City, because of in the comics he actually won that in a game of Sabacc,
right.
So
the more and more time goes on, it feels like Lando's actually going to be every series that we want around Solo. It's going to be Solo 2, it's going to be Crimson Dawn, we're going to get Darth Maul back, we're going to get Qi'ra back. I think it's all going to be all that stuff wrapped into Lando being the main character and being Lando-centric. And it seems like we're waiting on Donald Glover to sign his name on the contract, and it seems
Billy
like
D.
we're just waiting for that to happen.
Or Billy D. Williams.
Well, yeah, he's gonna be back, but I think it's just Donald Glover. I mean, he's too hot right now, and he signed a big deal with Amazon. So.
I could see it being like in the first Hobbit, where like Lando would like be just kind of
that'd be cool,
like telling his own stories, and then I just kind of like the camera pans to him being young, like kind of like they did in the first Hobbit movie.
I like how at the beginning of this episode I make a Lord of the Rings reference and you yell at me, and now here you are doing it, and I am supposed to remain quiet for this situation? No. This is a Star Wars Stuff podcast. Welcome back to Star Wars Stuff podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars, Colin. God. All right.
So I think that would be cool if they did something like that, because if they've still got some of the old actors there, why not use them?
Yeah. Maybe they don't want to be used. I don't know.
Well, not okay. You're like twisting my words now. But anyways, David, continue.
Any more thoughts on Emilia Clarke?
She's the love of my life. I'm waiting for her to realize it. That's all I have to say about that. I'm just waiting for her to like pick up the phone, because we haven't talked in a while.
So I love Solo because there's so many kind of spin-offs that they could do with that movie. I mean, I know Solo 2 would be great, and I know a show of just about that would be great, but honestly, Crimson Dawn, Lando, something about Qi'ra, like that would be interesting. But to make Solo 2 happen is just, you know that Han was at the end of the movie was going to do that job for Jabba, and then when he sees the Empire, he like drops his shipment, and then that's where we end up going to a New Hope, where like Jabba's mad at him because he lost his shipment. So I don't think that a second movie would be necessary. I didn't think the first one was necessary, but it was awesome. I loved it. But I think that there's more potential with Crimson Dawn and Qi'ra and Darth Maul and Lando, more than what a second Solo movie would do.
I think that a lot of people in the Star Wars fan base have and always will be attracted to the idea of furthering the character development and story behind Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Because like he is a favorite villain for so many people, and for a fan base like the Star Wars universe has, and the fact that the Star Wars universe has given so much of what they have asked for, the idea of some of a fan base like asking for the same thing many times and then having them give it to them, like, oh, you want this? We'll give it to you. That happens all the time in Star Wars. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen in a situation like this. But Star Wars, they tend to do things kind of weirdly in the way that they'll give you what you want, but not in the way that you thought you wanted it.
Right.
So like when it came out with the final season of like the Clone Wars, and we get to see like the Order 66, and you get to see Darth Maul at like one of his primes in the Clone Wars era, and then we see him in Rebels prior to seeing the final season. Obviously, that was released before, but there's so much content that's been given to Darth Maul, and I don't know that the Star Wars universe will do like, we've already given him a lot, and his character is pretty well established. And the idea of us giving him more may or may not be beneficial to us. We might want to like put our resources into developing new characters that are Disney original. They're not Lucasfilm created characters or whatever it may be. I think that they would be doing themselves a favor by maybe listening to the fan base and potentially doing maybe not even necessarily a solo 2 project, but something along the lines of, with the crime syndicates and, with Crimson Dawn, because there's so little that the fan base knows about Crimson Dawn and, other crime syndicates that they wouldn't understand had they not read the comics or gone further into depth in with Star Wars Legends. So I think that the idea of them expanding on that it's kind of like with the Bounty Hunters Guild. With Mandalorian, they kind of expanded on the Bounty Hunters Guild a little bit, and there's tons of potential there. But with the other crime syndicates, we see a little taste of it in the final season with Ahsoka when she's dealing with I can't remember which group it is.
Black Sun.
Yeah, she's dealing with the Black Sun, and then we see the Black Sun in Solo. There's 2 of them that she deals with.
You are talking about the Pikes.
Yeah, there were the ones
she
had to deliver the spice to, but she delivered them from the Black Sun. So a Black Sun to the Pikes. So she dealt with 2 different crime syndicates, and both of those crime syndicates are represented in Solo. And I think that there's a lot of potential in expanding on the universe of crime syndicates, whether or not that falls into the plot line of Emilia Clarke's character as Qi'ra or with Darth Maul. Obviously, it has to include Darth Maul because at one point he is the mastermind behind a majority of these crime syndicates, as we see in Solo and the final season of Clone Wars. So I think that not only would they want to listen to their fans by giving them what they're asking for, but they're going to give it to them in a way that they didn't expect it, in the form of a crime syndicate series. That's the Black Sun.
Yeah.
And remember, Darth Maul literally beheads that entire council with one single blow. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Actually, that was Savage.
He did it, but like Darth Maul's like, get him.
Yeah. But kind of going back to like more stories about Darth Maul, I remember when there's like when the Clone Wars was coming out, on TV and stuff, and I remember when they showed the episode of where like Darth Maul, just so you know, spoilers if you haven't watched Star Wars, the Clone Wars, go watch it. But Darth Maul, kind of comes back as this spider creature, and you're like, he's alive? Like what? Like and then they just kind of progress his story even more by going to Dathomir, and then you get more in you like get a different perspective of the prequels, like of if Darth Maul survived of what happened on Naboo from Obi-Wan because he was supposed to help the Emperor kind of progress his plan even further, but the Emperor continued his plan without Maul, and he just found a new apprentice, and then he kind of felt replaced, and that kind of dives deeper into the prequels, and I love that. So
side note, Savage Opress, primo character. One of my favorites in Clone Wars. Honestly, I loved his character development, and it happened so quick in the way he died. Oh, sorry, but yeah, Savage Opress, absolutely one of my favorites of the Clone Wars.
But But
So sorry, viewers.
but yeah,
I
no,
like him because
so-
he was never a spider.
I like him because we get to see like what Savage Opress was like before he was taken in by the Night Sisters and was transformed into the beast that was manipulated into being a pawn of the Sith. But I just think that like his character is like so like even like the first time that Savage Opress encounters like Obi-Wan, even he's like, what is this?
Oh,
It's got
yeah.
manhandled by this beast.
Well, yeah, because of it's just awesome, and when Star Wars expands its its legends and mythology, because of you like think that you understand Star Wars for a second, and then all of a sudden you like see all of this stuff that you wouldn't think that would be in Star Wars because of the Night Sisters and
Dathomir is the creepiest planet.
oh yeah, because like I like never thought I would ever
And
see
like
anything like
like
that.
the living dead. Oh,
yeah,
that
and
was
and then they end up doing zombies, and then they ended up expanding.
I was
that
like
more,
zombies
and-
versus droids. I never thought I would see this in the Clone Wars.
No, and a cool Easter egg is that during that arc, in Jedi Fallen Order, that one Night Sister was like, hey, somebody with blue and green lightsabers, killed all of my sisters, and then if you remember back in the Clone Wars, it was that battle where it was General Grievous and the droids attacking the planet. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's that. Like that's a cool tie-in. So anything that expands the Star Wars universe even more, I love it. And that's what the oh shoot. Oh no, I'm losing it, guys. I'm really tired.
Savage, Darth Maul.
No.
I'm trying to help.
Mortis.
Crimson Dawn. Crimson Dawn would be a great show. All right. Continue before I lose my mind.
We got really off track, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where we even were.
Yay!
Okay, we are here now.
Okay. So we did not get to talk about episode 8 last week because like David said, we were super busy. But this episode was awesome because it again, this is taking place on a planet that we see in a Jedi Fallen Order, which is like, where Cal Kestis was hiding for at least 5 years after the Purge.
As a scrapper.
Yeah. And Crosshair at this point, has completely turned to the dark side. Like he will, do anything to,
He's willing to burn you alive.
Follow his orders, which what you said is ironic, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But but it's crazy because of he will do anything to like to stop his former team. And we explore a Republic cruiser more than I think we've ever seen inside one, because of they actually get to at some point they are getting chased because of their they are trying to escape from the planet, and Crosshair kind of traps them into like this giant iron engine of the cruiser, and they kind of block them off, and then he orders one of his soldiers to actually turn on the iron engine when the Bad Batch team is inside of it, and then the Bad Batch is just like, all right, we like need to figure a way out of there, and then they just like plant explosives all around, and then it goes off, it explodes, and when it does, it falls down with the engine still going, and Crosshair is right in front of it, and it just burns half of his face off. Like it's crazy.
Backfire at its best.
Yeah, and then Hunter and Omega, are trying to escape, and which I didn't see this coming, which I don't think a lot of people didn't see it coming, but out of nowhere,
Cue the
Cad
Western
Bane,
music.
yeah, like wow, and then like here comes like Cad Bane, wow, yeah, and
Spoilers.
and something fun about this scene in particular is that they actually shot a arc in the Clone Wars before Disney got the rights to Lucasfilm of where Cad Bane and Boba Fett have a shootout And it was pretty much a copy and paste of this, where Hunter, where Boba Fett was replaced with Hunter, but in that shot, from the deleted arc that never actually made it on the air.
It's pretty early development too, so it's pretty choppy.
Which I posted that scene on Instagram, but but Cad Bane and Boba Fett, have the Western shootout, and Boba shoots Cad Bane in the head, and you see his hat fly, and then Cad Bane shoots Boba Fett in the helmet, and that was the canon, way that Boba Fett got his dent, in his helmet. And later I'll explain that more. But they copy and pasted it. But Cad Bane didn't get shot, and Cad Bane just wasted Hunter, wasted him. And then after that, he stuns Omega, and then they go on the ship, and then he flies away, and turns out Hunter's still alive. And there's a scene where they're dragging Hunter on the ship, and you're seeing the inside of the clone helmet, which to me, it was kind of, I know other people have talked about this, but to me, it was kind of an Easter egg to the game Republic Commandos, because of during that game, like you're saying, you're seeing directly into a clone helmet, and it looked exactly like that. So I don't know if that's what Dave Filoni was trying to do, but that's awesome. And then the end of the episode is, them trying to figure out how they're going to save Omega. But I love the episode. I thought it was great bringing Cad Bane back, because he was a huge fan favorite in the Clone Wars. And it just wanted me to see, more of the history of him, because we never got to see that arc with Boba Fett, and we don't know if it's that technically canon, but I think they're hinting at it is, which we do, which I'll talk more about when we talk about episode 9 of the Bad Batch, because of that episode was really good too.
I also just want to take a second to sort of go in a little bit more depth of the character development that we see with Omega, because throughout the first 7 episodes prior to this, we see a developing Omega, like we see her learning on as she's trying to manipulate her the way that she previously thought, and she's copying everything that Hunter does, and she's learning all the time. She is ridiculously smart in this episode. If she didn't have the Bad Batch there to rescue her, I'm pretty sure if she really wanted to, she could figure out how to escape herself, because she basically does, with the exception of her ship malfunctioning at the end. She could have pulled this off by herself. And I think that it's just important to realize that when we first meet Omega, she is this wide-eyed, very curious mind that knows a little bit about everything. But in this episode, we see her really hone in on these skills that she has, because she is this purebred clone that is so adaptive. And I think that's honestly one of her strong traits that makes her so special than other ones, is that she's extremely adaptive, and she's very fast learning. And we're seeing that now. We're not now, we've already seen it, but we're seeing it turned up to 11, because the way that she just maintains her calmness. She's been kidnapped by this blue guy in a big hat with red eyes. She has no idea who this is, and she's being chased by Fennec Shan at the same time on a planet she's never been to before. And she's almost never been off planet up until a few weeks ago. She's experiencing all of these things that she's never experienced at her age. It's astonishing that she can maintain her calmness and get herself out of a situation while adapting and learning things as she's literally being shot at, not at, but pew 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 all around everywhere. So I just wanted to emphasize that her character development is muy primo, yeah. It's very good.
Well, yeah, no. And then for chapter 9, that episode was really good, because we see more of the Clone Wars elements. Because of that, droid Toto was pretty cool, because of through the entire Clone Wars, he was played by Seth Green. Seth Green came back and voiced him, and I was like, that's awesome. And we, find out that, that the people on Camino have hired Cad Bane to kind of get her back. Yeah, and we find out why, which is very interesting because I think it's throwing a lot of people off. But she is a Generation 1 clone, which means that her DNA came it was never altered. It came directly from Jango Fett. Now there are only two people, two clones that were ever made like that, and it was Omega and then Alpha, which we found out that it turned into Boba. So and I believe it's Latin. I forget what language, but
Greek.
Greek. Thank you.
Means first and last.
Yes. So
Wow, way to
that
jump on
is
that one.
pretty cool. That's pretty cool that they kind of tied that in together. So technically, Omega and Boba are pretty much like real siblings. I mean, I know, all the clones are technically, siblings and brothers, but these two are, actual real
Brother.
siblings. So, and I like that Easter egg, because it was tying in. I think there's totally setting up for Boba Fett to kind of come in some way, and we all know that Daniel Logan really wants to come back. So so I could totally see Daniel Logan coming in at the end of the season and being like, "Hey Omega, come with me," or something like that. But anyways, so Cad Bane ends up taking her to this planet that at first I thought was Cloud City, but we're totally wrong. And we get there, and Omega tricks Toto, but she actually does fix his leg because he was like, "Hey, I need to fix my leg," and then she's like, "Yeah, I'll help you," and she fixes it, and then she shuts him down, and then she escapes, and then she gets in contact with the Bad Batch, and then they start to make their way over, and then Cad Bane is about to capture Omega, and then we hear a blaster sound that sounds very similar to Boba Fett. So I was like, oh man, it's been leading up to this. And then we see Taun We from Attack of the Clones, on the ground, lying there. So she's totally dead, which she
Rip.
she didn't have any lines during the show until this episode, and then she came up and then she gets killed, and we're like, oh man, it's Boba Fett. But it turned out to be Fennec Shand, and her and Cad Bane have this fight. And surprisingly, for Cad Bane being experienced, he kind of gets his he loses, he gets his butt kicked a lot. And I think it might be because of what I was talking about earlier, where in that deleted scene where Boba Fett and Cad Bane fight, he gets shot, and we actually see when Cad Bane takes off his hat that halfway through his head, he's got this giant plate on there. And I think that is from Boba Fett. So I think they are saying that it is canon, but it's been hinted at, but it hasn't been officially confirmed yet. But and I think because of that, he's not on his game like he used to be. He's kind of off balance. But when they're fighting, Omega sneaks into this room, and she goes into this room where it's just full of test tubes of different species, and kind of going into the history of the species from Kamino. They before they cloned Jango Fett, and they did the clones for the Republic, they were cloning different species for different private parties and stuff, and actually, which I found out recently, which I thought was interesting, but Kamino actually used to be this giant ice planet, but then when the climate changed, the people on Kamino actually altered their DNA by making different clones of themselves and stuff. So at some point, there's a test tube that falls down on Fennec Shand when Fennec Shand is trying to say, "Hey, I'm here to save you" and stuff, and she's like, "No way!" And then she presses a button and it falls out, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, it's Snoke!" And it's like, no, it's just different species of.
Okay, but it did kind of
Kamino.
look like Snoke when it was in the tank.
You
couldn't see a clear look at it, but it looked like a misshapen thing that Snoke is.
Well, I mean, well, so if that was true, then if you think about it, if they had Snoke there, then they would have way more security, so no one would find out, or Palpatine would have people there, kind of, being, kind of surveying it, because later, there's a comic book where Darth Vader just goes to this planet and we see everything, from the rise of Skywalker, and then he's like, look at all my ships, and then it's just like, what? and then they don't talk about it again for over 30 years, and you're just like, what? Like there's no like record history or anything. So
it's like MTV's like, look at my house.
Yeah, but like
MTV's My Crib.
Yeah. I mean, no.
Got this,
here's all my test tubes full of of clones that are based off of Luke's hand from Empire Strikes Back.
These are my Imperial Ferraris,
and these are all my ships. Like, it's just like, that made no sense to me. But I was like, all right, cool. It's cool. But anyways, going back to Bad Batch, she ends up escaping, and she gets into the escape pods that look very similar to what they use in Kamino, and it takes off. And then the Bad Batch, their like ship, catches her, and then they go off in the sunset. And then Cad Bane, loses against Fennec Shand totally, and he's like tied up, and he's like, and he's upset because she also sabotaged his ship. So he's definitely coming back, at some point for some type of revenge. I mean, it would be awesome if we don't see him in the show, and then he just comes up in the book of Boba Fett, and he's like, hey, Fennec Shand, I have a really big score to settle, and we see like live action Cad Bane. That would be cool. But at the end of the episode, Omega has this talk with Hunter, and it sounds like her biggest fear is just being in a test tube, like the other test tubes that she found, because of Kamino. The people in Kamino think of her as just, as property, as this experiment that they made. And she's afraid that she's going to be, experimented on it for the rest of her life. And Hunter, acting as a father, as all fathers do in Star Wars, and he promises her that nothing bad will happen to her.
As soon as he said that, I was like, right,
I was like, oh man, yeah. Right. So,
hey, it's Star Wars: The Dad Batch. What do you want? What do you expect?
Yeah. So, and then that's the end of the episode. So I think
I do know that, like, I'm looking at like the IMDb of Corey Burton, the guy who voices Cad Bane, and like right now he's only, obviously his filmography only says that he's in 2 episodes of The Bad Batch. Side note, I don't know if Colin knew this, being a fanatic of DuckTales, that he is a voice actor on that show for a character called Ludwig von Drake. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the voice of Ludwig. I thought you'd want to know that.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Omega is super valuable to the Kaminoans because she's a first-generation clone, and her DNA is unaltered.
Right.
But Boba Fett is an exact clone of Jango Fett without DNA altered, and they're both males. So Omega has been altered.
Well, yeah. I mean, too. Well, like, okay, I mean, I don't want to get into real life genetics or anything, but
according to the anatomy, it's like
but like, it's just like him having a daughter. So I mean, so it is,
it's 50-50.
It is his real blood. It is just like him having a daughter, but of them doing the cloning process. So
but wouldn't you need somebody else's DNA for that?
Well, I mean, in the maturing process,
I don't know how cloning
in the maturing process of an embryo, like in the natural state, it can choose whether or not to adapt to a male or female DNA.
Yeah. So I mean, I do not work on Kamino, so I don't know how they do things over there. But
I haven't grown anything in a test tube.
More than welcome.
Because you'd think if it was just like a part of the cloning process, then you'd have female clones.
Okay, well, this came.
Those are altered though.
Okay, this came directly from Tech. So talk to him and
Tech. I have questions.
Yeah. So, but all jokes aside, and all that. I think there's more to it because I think you're right, because she's like kind of acting like she's force sensitive. Like, there are totally times like throughout the show where I felt like, you know, she is force sensitive in some way. Because of when Tech was like, yeah, you know, heard that there's only 2 clones that, you know, had direct DNA and that were really never altered. I was like, okay, well then explain how she's, you know, kind of knowing things like as a Jedi because of like, I mean, like for being force sensitive, because there are times where like she has sensed things that like would totally you know, make sense if she was a force wielder. Like it doesn't make sense if like her DNA is just from Jango. Like there has to be something else in there that we're missing, or it'll be like a final reveal in the last episode or something.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like
And that's back.
What are your guys' opinions on it? On that matter? Of, I mean, like, do you think that it's really just Jango Fett's DNA, or do you think something else is in there?
I didn't even think about it until you mentioned it. But yeah, when you think about the whole importance of Omega, it's like, well, I mean, you get into you said, you get into the whole genetics of it all. I mean, Boba Fett's there. Why don't they just use him?
Right.
But where exactly is he at right now in the timeline?
Well, he's probably around 14 years old. So
well, no, physically, like where is he at? What planet? What system?
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
He is like probably going on his own adventures, being a bounty hunter. Like,
because I know in canon he was hanging around Bosk, and I know Bosk was like a mentor to him.
Well, I think from the perspective of the Kaminoans, it would be easier to make another Boba Fett than to try and track him down through the entire universe.
Right.
So, and then they can just have a new one.
So Boba Fett's just missing to everyone.
Well, and there's also raises the question, like, does Omega have the you know the aging speed process as the other clones do, or did they make her later than Boba Fett, because of, again, you know, his like when Jango made that deal with Dooku, he was like, I want a clone that's not altered and like he doesn't have like a aging speed process, so he ages, you know, normally. Did they do that for Omega? Where
well, if she's unaltered DNA, then yes, she wouldn't have that age speed.
Yeah,
advanced aging speed.
On that one.
Interesting.
So does that mean that when Jango asked for one, they were like, we'll make you one. We're also going to make one for ourselves.
Well,
but they wouldn't have been made at the same time.
No. Because of this point, you know, we've got Boba probably being around 14, 15 years old, and Omega's probably, you know, maybe 9 or 10. I mean, I'm guessing.
I wish I could find that out.
Yeah. How old is Omega? I don't think they've said her actual age in the show yet.
Yeah. Interesting.
And interesting theories, guys. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Our brains are turning.
Yeah, everyone thought at the beginning she was a Palpatine, but it turns out she's a Fett.
Well, I mean, she's got that weird blonde swoopy hair. I mean,
they had the same haircut. It wasn't that big of a leap.
Yeah. But I mean, but then it's like, you know, if it's true, then why is her hair blonde?
Well, Rex's is blonde.
That is true.
Right.
And he's not the only clone that I've ever seen with like blonde hair.
Right. But their DNA was altered, though. Her DNA wasn't.
Well, it has to be altered at some point because Jango wasn't female. So there was some manipulation there. Right? It'd have to be.
I don't know. Okay, if you guys are like experts in cloning and you know the cloning process, you know, like, and well, like, you know, not okay, but if you guys know something that we don't know, you know, totally message us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything.
Okay. So there's this little excerpt. I just like typed in like how old is Omega and the Bad Batch, and I like clicked on like the first link, and I just scroll down, and there's this one that says, who is Omega clone from? And it says the $1 million question. The Star Wars universe doesn't feature that many blondes, let alone ones that look like Omega. Plenty of theories claim that she's a female clone of Palpatine or Obi-Wan, or even a clone of Justice Satine? That's stupid. Anyway, there's no clear-cut answer. As I'm like reading all this, I'm like, wow, that's a stupid theory. So forget I said anything, because as I read that sentence, I was like, that's stupid.
Well, did you figure out how old she is?
Still looking.
Okay.
Still looking.
Well, I mean, and the show, they like technically. So, I mean, I think by the end of the show, you know, if this is the only season they're doing, then we'll get more answers. But I don't think that this is because of I think they like that, you know, we are getting Star Wars all summer long. Like
I think I got an answer.
Ooh,
Okay.
You tell.
Okay, it's
All right, he's laughing,
it's
so-
almost as stupid as what I just read. I'll read it
Okay.
out
Yeah,
loud.
I was gonna say, I was like, he probably doesn't. But
Age
continue.
isn't usually an important factor for the clones, as they tend to age more rapidly than humans. Omega, however, seems to be aging as at the human rate. There is no chronological answer for the question yet, but there is a going range for the previous Star Wars children. She's probably somewhere between the ages of 9, as in the age of Anakin in The Phantom Menace, or 50, the age of Grogu in The Mandalorian. This doesn't exactly narrow it down, but somehow the ranges age range between 9 and 14.
Okay. So,
But I mean, did they get Django's genetic material 50 years ago? I mean,
No, they definitely did not.
No,
Yeah,
because
she
of
can't be 50.
I mean because of they like shortly got his DNA, you know,
This website's
after the
dumb.
events of Phantom Menace. So it was from that 10-year it was from that 10-year period of Attack of the Clones to 10-year period from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones.
I think that this website is just taking like theories throughout all of Star Wars and trying to use them to answer questions that they shouldn't be answering. So I'm just gonna ignore anything that I got from that.
But yeah, so there's a lot of theories going on. I mean, I think we'll get some type of answer by the end of it. I hope it's not like a Rogue One situation where they're just like, and you die on the beach, and you die in a ship, and you die over there. Like I hope that some of them make it. I think Crosshair will definitely sacrifice himself in some way in the end. I think that he'll definitely survive.
I hope we get Omega and Book of Boba Fett.
Oh well, yeah. So
Cybernetic guy.
So I've noticed something since Mandalorian came out. They have been dropping, you know, like some subtle hints from that show into, you know, different shows, because of, you know, after the first season of Mandalorian, and we got that new season of Clone Wars, we got to see Bo-Katan return, and then season 2 of Mandalorian came out. She was in it, and we saw more of Fennec Shand and the second season, and now she is in Bad Batch. So I think I think they're slowly kind of transferring characters from each show, so then they get more story, because, you know, that's something great about like all these shows being connected, is that they can do that. So I think there's a chance that we might see Omega or some other characters from the show up in the Book of Boba Fett. As much as I would love to see Omega, I think Cad Bane has a better chance, because I think he has a score to settle with Fennec Shand. Yeah.
I agree with the Boba, or not the Cad Bane theory. I think he'll return.
And seeing Cad Bane live action, bro, I would just be like, all right, man, I'm done. Like, this is awesome, because Cad Bane is such a cool character. I mean, he and what I was blown away with is that, you know, he did fight a couple of Jedi in the Clone Wars, and he, you know, did pretty well for himself, and then he goes and fights Fennec Shand, and he struggles. So I think that I think we'll, you know, get more of a backstory of like the real canon way of how he got that plate on his head. And I think it is from Boba Fett. And I hope that, you know, that we see a flashback in Bad Batch. But if we saw a flashback, you know, in the Book of Boba Fett, where the young version of him, like, you know, fights him, I think that would blow people away. Because of like those like small details is what brings a lot of people in. And I could just see, you know, like the live action version of Boba Fett, you know, like in a flashback scene where they have like a Western shootout, because now I feel like they're like kind of leaning towards more of that old Western, the old samurai stuff, because of those elements in Star Wars. is what really inspires it. So I think that, like that would bring a lot of people in, and seeing more Boba Fett, more Cad Bane stuff. I mean, that's something I wanted to see. After I heard about that deleted scene that got released online like years ago, like over 5 years ago. But yeah.
Cool. So Acolyte news dropped, and Leslye Headland did an interview. Yeah, that's a picture of her. So
I just wasn't ready for it. I was like, why is this? Okay. Hi, Leslye. Continue.
hello, Matt.
What? Don't do that. It's not her voice is gonna be like David in my head now.
So this story is gonna, show like a Sith character, right? Like
multiple Sith characters
during the High
allegedly
Republic.
the end of the High Republic.
During the end of the High Republic. So that means that they're going into the phases of the Phantom Menace and into kind of what we see. And I think that would be like the end of the show of them kind of doing like the whole council thing. We see, Yoda, maybe young version of Mace Windu or something in the show. Now, is this going to be live action or is this going to be animated?
It's going to be live action.
It is going to be live action.
I know.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be animated. If it's live action, that changes everything. Okay. Continue.
Okay.
Matt, can you verify that? Because I've heard people say that to me, and it's like, what?
Okay.
But no, Leslye Headland, she is one of the people that helped create Russian Doll on Netflix, which is live action.
It is live action. You're correct.
So, that changes everything. Okay.
So yeah, so she did a podcast, I believe, the AV Club, and she was answering questions that they had in regards to Star Wars, her process, and what's going to happen. A little bit of background on her. She said, "My relationship with Star Wars probably runs a span of most of my life, and it has changed over the decades," which I think mine has done, and probably everyone else's. When I was younger, I devoured the films on home video and absolutely loved them. Just a deep connection to the original trilogy, which is great. That's music to my ears. When I was in middle school, I read some novels like Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire, and I also got into it that way. So yeah, she has information on the legacy stuff that I think some of our previous directors didn't really care for. She says she also played some Star Wars RPGs, and that's my favorite version of Star Wars. A Star Wars where you get to make up your own Star Wars. So when people are like, "What's your favorite film?" and that's your favorite piece of media, I'm like, I just really love the RPGs. To me, that's what Star Wars is being able to walk into a universe and start playing. If you can't do that with a movie, television show, novel, comic book, video game, then I'm not sure you've done what you need to do as a creator of Star Wars material. And the other kind of interesting excerpt is that she addressed what kind of people will be writing on the show and creating on the show. And she said, first of all, I really wanted people that were different than me. I certainly didn't want a room full of people that were just agreeing with me vehemently, which I totally agree with. That's the way to go. Not ideologically, but artistically, people that kind of had different writing styles or were interested in different things, all of that kind of stuff. But there was a certain intention in terms of putting together a room that I felt like were people that I hadn't been in a room with before, if that makes sense. I totally agree with that. I think that's absolutely the way she should go. She also said, I literally had one writer that was like, I have never seen Star Wars before. I've never seen any Star Wars media. And she got a text before the meeting, and it said, she was like, Luke and Leia are brother and sister? What the? So okay. I totally agree with this. I think that you need to bring in people from all walks of life to work on Star Wars. People that haven't seen Star Wars, people that barely know what Star Wars is, like hardcore fans. I mean, you have to have people from all kinds of walks of life to work on this.
I think it's kind of a gamble not to have. I mean, because if they like definitely did that in the past where they didn't have anyone who worked on Star Wars, like, be part of the team. But if you don't have a general idea of what Star Wars is and then you do it, then you might get a result of what The Last Jedi was, where you like didn't even, kind of go off the blueprint. And that's my only worry about it. But what's nice about, the High Republic era is that it's completely new. So they have more freedom with it because because they're not doing stuff with main characters that we grew up with and loved. So I think they got more freedom with it. Do you honestly think they are going to have some type of Skywalker tie-in, David? Like, really? Yoda
in a roundabout way, because I guess possible spoilers for the Acolyte. Apparently, there was a report this past week that we are going to finally get to see Darth Plagueis in live action. And that's a rumor. We fans have been asking.
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Right. So, and that leads to maybe seeing young Palpatine, hopefully Tom Hiddleston, on screen. That would be awesome. And maybe Plagueis' master, Darth Tenebrous.
If Tom Hiddleston came in and played, young Palpatine, I would just, I would be blown away because of,
we already have Michael Waldron working on another Star Wars project.
I know a lot of people thought that, in The Rise of Skywalker, that Matt Smith was going to play young Palpatine, but then he was supposed to play the brother, and then, that whole kind of script.
That he didn't show up like at all.
Yeah. But I like that, this is going to have more freedom with it. I just hope because of more stuff that isn't directly tied into the Skywalker saga, I think that's great. But David, I like your theory because of it kind of dive into the possibility of diving more into what the Chosen One prophecy really is. Because we do not know technically what the actual prophecy says, like of word to word.
Mm-hmm. And we also don't know if Anakin was accurately predicted as the Chosen One.
Right.
It's just speculated.
We have no idea. So at the same time, this is great, but they got to be careful because if they don't do it right, then and they end up kind of saying that for some reason Anakin isn't, then that's going to throw everything off. Like the entire saga will be thrown off because of it.
The only thing that's going to be thrown off is Anakin's excessive abilities and like bordering on being overpowered. It's justified by saying he's the Chosen One. So like Anakin can fly a ship perfectly at age 9 and blow up a Trade Federation ship because he's the Chosen One. So if you make it that he's not the Chosen One, he's going to become much more of a Mary Sue.
Sue.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think that it would throw off because there are several people who were like in the Jedi Temple who didn't think that Anakin really was the Chosen One. And Obi-Wan only believed it because he trusted in Qui-Gon. In Qui-Gon, we don't know why he believed it. So I don't think it's ever like really confirmed that he is or isn't. I know some people think that the dyad of Rey and Kylo were the chosen one.
But George Lucas did state that he was the chosen one. That
he is
the chosen one.
Also, he did say that Luke was going to be the chosen one.
I'm the chosen one
from a certain point of view, but George Lucas's actual like statement and his whole thing throughout the original saga was that Anakin was the real chosen one. But now that Disney has changed everything with these new characters, there might be a different possibility. But this was not the original plot of the Skywalker saga. Once they added Rey and everything, which I love Rey, I'm not dissing Rey or anything.
Careful.
Your
fiance will come after you.
Hang on.
Rey is literally on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but as soon as Rey was added, it changed the entire like the entire way we look at things. And again, I like Rey's character. I have nothing against her or anything like that. But I think Anakin will always be the chosen one, and I think what they did in the sequel films was they kind of contradicted themselves because of now we have to rethink. Okay.
Why?
We have to rethink, about, the rest of the saga because of the Emperor's back in episode 9, which was not in the original script. Like that was not in the original episode 9 script. Like, it was supposed to, not be him as the main villain. It was always supposed to be Kylo. But then when Rian Johnson, did what he did in The Last Jedi, it changed everything. And they had to redo everything. So
back to what you had said a bit earlier, having a writer that knows absolutely nothing about Star Wars, you were a little concerned that like they don't know like the blueprint and may not follow it. But I don't think that's as big of a concern, because that was a concern with The Last Jedi, but that's because it was in the context of a whole series. So you had an established blueprint. But with a new TV show, there isn't really a blueprint. There's the Star Wars lore and like the kind of genre, but that's really the only blueprint you have. You don't have to follow any sort of specific kind of story or style. So I think it's a good thing having someone who doesn't know everything about Star Wars, because it's not like they're going to be the sole writer. It's not going to be like everything's up to them. They're part of the writing team, and they might be able to offer a point of view that people who are really deep into Star Wars might not see.
Right. So, and I mean, and you're right, because they've got more freedom, because it is not like the main Skywalker story.
Yeah, it doesn't have to flow with anything else.
No. It really can be its own thing, and that's what's nice about it. But I was just comparing the Rian Johnson stuff because of that's where fans kind of was like, wait, like what did I just watch? But now with this new show coming out, they got more freedom because it takes place way before, so they can add whatever they want to, as long in the end it does connect in some way. So if they end up, for example, saying, that Anakin's not the chosen one, and they end up choosing someone else, then that's going to contradict what the entire Skywalker saga is.
Do you think that with the Acolyte, they might take any inspiration from any of the Timothy Zahn novels that have come out about the High Republic era?
Say that one more time, Matt.
The book, the Height of the Republic, or the Light of the Republic, with that was written by Timothy Zahn, or was it Timothy? What?
No.
What's the name of the author? What's the name of the author?
Timothy Zahn has written anything for the High Republic.
Yeah.
Because
I was thinking about that. I was like,
what is the name of that author?
I know there's like Kayvon Scott, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Alder, and of course,
Charles Soule. How did I get
Soule.
Timothy Zahn out of that? I'm killing myself today.
So,
anyways, yeah.
So what Ray was saying, it doesn't really connect with anything. I don't think it connects with the High Republic novels and comics that are being written, but I mean, it's not as precious to fans out there,
right.
And I think it's not. They have a lot more leeway, and I know the canon rules are whatever you see in TV shows and films kind of supersede what's in the novels and comics. So they do have more wiggle room to do pretty much whatever they want. But going back to that writer that knows nothing about Star Wars, that's not to say that they're not going to do a massive amount of research and read and watch everything Star Wars related, because I'm pretty sure they are, just to kind of get a grasp and to kind of get in that proper headspace that every Star Wars creator really needs to get into.
See,
so
I think that
not a worry for me.
when they hire someone on that has limited to no experience in the Star Wars universe, and then just before they go into the production or the pre-production phases of a project, they just swarm themselves with Star Wars, content. I feel like I don't understand why they would go through that, because they were brought on for the specific reason that they don't know that much about Star Wars. And I was under the impression that the people who are also on the production team that know tons or everything about Star Wars would be the ones that would be constantly checking them. And I think that it would be counterproductive for those people who know little to none about Star Wars to load themselves up with everything Star Wars that they can prior to getting their hands deep or knee deep or however deep they want to go into like the character development or the plot or the script writing. I think that those kinds of minds should stay ignorant in that fashion, that the ones who know about Star Wars will be the ones correcting what they do. But I think that like having someone not know anything about Star Wars in the development and then go and learn everything about Star Wars is counterproductive in that fashion. That I think that they should be the ones that give an outside concept into a world that is obviously run by Star Wars fanatics. That I think that the reason why what's her name hired all those people on that don't know anything about Star Wars is for that exact reason, that they don't know. Yeah, thank you. That they don't know anything about Star Wars, and that their unique points of view and the way that they perceive the Star Wars based off of like pop culture and other people mentioning it in their lives is important. And I don't think that those people should go out of their way to learn things about Star Wars, because that will alter the way that they may produce the pre-production phases of the Star Wars project that they're being hired to work on, that being the Acolyte.
Yeah,
So
it's really a lot like our podcast. I mean, I'm a huge original trilogy fan. Colin's a huge Clone Wars prequels fan. Matt, you're pretty much the same. Yeah. Ray's super into costuming, and she knows a lot about Star Wars in general. I mean, that's the beauty of having a creative project is you have different people that know different things. You all come together, and we all have something to contribute.
But I guess when you mention it in that fashion, is it such a bad thing for you, David, to suddenly overnight learn everything there is about the prequels, because you still maintain the headspace that you are an original trilogy fan? Would the concepts that you have around the Star Wars universe change depending on how much you learn about different aspects of the universe?
Well, like Leslye said in the interview, during the span of her life, her viewpoint on Star Wars constantly changes. And that's where I kind of really got into the article when she said that, because it's changed. Because when you're a little kid, you don't know a lot about life. Right. And Star Wars is a lot about life and just mythology. And when I grew up finally and the prequels came out, I kind of went back and re-examined what I watched in Star Wars. And it's like, oh my gosh, it relates so much to Asian culture and ancient myth, and it's like, wow, there's actually a lot of depth to Star Wars. And that's what I think made me kind of re-fall in love back with Star Wars, aside from the cool lightsabers and the cool spaceships and the cool characters.
There's always that child.
Yeah. So there's like a surface level that you fall in love with, but there's also like this deep kind of story and detail. Yeah.
We also don't know if this person was hired specifically because they don't know a lot about Star Wars, or if they hired this writer who just didn't happen to. So they could be brought on just because they're an amazing writer, or they could be brought on because they don't know a lot. I'm leaning towards they were brought on because they're an amazing writer, and then now they're doing their research.
Yeah.
That could just as equally be the case, I guess. And with the line of thought that I'm going along with, I think that, like I said before, I think that there is this concept of an individual who has been very limited, if not none, to the Star Wars universe, bringing them in and seeing what they could create within the boundaries of the Star Wars that exists now. But they're creating a world that we have no prior experience to, with the exception of the one monologue where Palpatine is explaining, the tragedy of Darth Plagueis. But there's a whole new world out there that we have no experience in, other than like the Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. We're going outside of the reigns and outside of the bounds that we previously thought existed. And to have someone on the team creating that world that we don't know yet, that knows little to nothing about Star Wars, I think is an advantage, in that they are providing a point of view that no one from within the Star Wars universe could have seen. They don't have that point of view because obviously they're inside of it, so they can't. I just think that Leslye is making a very smart and conscious decision hiring what very well could be hired for just the fact that they're an amazing writer and that they have to, as Ray said, just learn about the universe that they're going to be creating. But also, I think that Leslye is also taking in the fact that she's creating a systematic universe outside of the one that we already know. And she has to find a way to find connections in between them and create something that didn't exist before to a fan base that for a majority of them are very compliant and fixed. Like there are those who think that the original trilogy is the best and nothing will ever top that. There are those who think that the prequels are garbage. There are those who think that all Star Wars is amazing, as we all do here. And I just think that Leslye is making a consciously smart decision, hiring someone who has little to no experience with Star Wars and creating a world that we don't know yet. I think that she's smart in that aspect, which is why I'm super excited for a live action Sith-based, television show that, according to like interviews, is going to be a very female-centric show that takes place in the High Republic, and that's something that we have yet to see before. We haven't seen a plot point that is led by that of a female-based cast or a strong Sith that is also female and also representing characters that have only been very likely or very little referenced, like Darth Plagueis. There's a lot that we have to look at.
If it is a show that's predominantly female-led, I am very excited because it is going to make a lot of people very upset. Because a lot of people don't like Rey in the sequels because it's female-led. They don't quite realize that, but because Luke and Rey have a lot of parallels, and all the things that they hate about Rey is stuff that they love about Luke. And there's only one real difference, which is their gender. So a female-led project is not going to sit well with a lot of people, and that makes me happy.
Ruffling the feathers of people who are very conformed to a specific gender role. It's very fun to see them like, what? And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah, because the sequels upset the Star Wars norm, because like the original trilogy is led by Luke with Han and Leia. Mm-hmm. Then the prequels is led by Anakin with Obi-Wan and Padme. Mm-hmm. But the sequels is led by Rey with two male
with Finn and Poe
backing. So it kind of like shifted that, and I don't think a lot of people appreciated it. Not a lot. I don't think some people appreciated that. And I would be really intrigued to see what happens if Star Wars tries something like that again. If it goes over the same way or better or worse. I'm going to be excited about it regardless.
I agreed. I think that a live action High Republic era based off of like the Sith is going to be amazing regardless of which genders controls it. I don't think that should be something that people have to think about. I don't care which gender this Darth Plagueis is. No one cares. Well, and the people that do care are the people that I don't care to talk about. Darth Plagueis is female. We just don't know yet. And like with Michael Waldron comes in, he's like, Loki can be a girl. Huh?
Loki's a shapeshifter. He can do what he wants.
Oh yeah,
right?
No, like I mean, we'll definitely talk about that on the Marvel Stuff podcast.
Oh, I've got words.
There is so much history,
I imagine.
There. But anyways, this show is supposed to start filming in February of 2022.
Yeah,
so it's coming up pretty quick. We are going to get all these live action shows, and I think 2023. I think the lineup we have right now is Rogue Squadrons, the show we're talking about, and then Lando, and I think that's it as of right now. But most likely Ahsoka as well, I think, right?
Yes. We're probably getting Ahsoka in 2023.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we'll have 4 Star Wars projects confirmed as right now, but that's not including, like the animated shows, like, maybe a second season of Bad Batch or more stuff from Visions. But We'll like definitely probably have the new
Yeah,
Star
I
Wars
think,
games
yeah.
out by then. Like the open world Star Wars game, they'll definitely be out by then.
Yeah.
And maybe season 3 of the Mandalorian too. So there is a lot to look forward to in the next couple of years involving the world of Star Wars. It's going to be
The
exciting.
world of Star Wars is bright.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, we weren't able to release a podcast last Monday due to the fact that I was preparing to go on our family vacation. So yeah, right when I got back from Galaxy's Edge a month ago in May for Star Wars Day, Star Wars Week.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was great seeing Matt, Colin, Brooke, Sam, and then
I
Craig.
was actually
our old
just
friend.
wearing that shirt that your wife made us like yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that shirt.
So yeah, when I came back, I asked my wife, "What do you want to do for our?" She actually asked me, "What are we going to do for vacation? You just went to Galaxy's Edge. What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I mean, do you want to go back to Galaxy's Edge?" Well, me go back, and she was like, "Yeah, sure. We'd like to go." And I asked my kids; they said they'd like to check it out. So, we saw something for Universal Studios pop up, which we hadn't gone to yet. So we decided to do that. It was during. They were doing a run of specials on 4-day packages, so we picked that, and then we chose Spirit Airline again, which I talked about in the past. They were decent. I mean, they were pretty good. I've heard bad stories about them in the past, and I've seen others get.
Look at you plugging Spirit Airlines in the podcast. Let's
Sponsor
get
us.
that sponsor, Spirit.
Well,
if we're gonna
hold
talk
on,
about
Matt.
I
Hold
Fly
on, Matt.
Frontier. He's
Dude,
like,
wait a
minute.
second, Matt.
Before
I will fight on
So-
Frontier.
Do not.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, continue. We are not doing any flights or anything. Just when we put this online, we are deleting everything that Matt just said. Anyways,
That's
Fix it in
normal.
post. Fix it in post.
yes. We'll
So,
definitely fix it in
yeah, I'll
post.
probably leave it in. But anyways, Spirit, I was scheduled to come back Thursday, and then all of a sudden they changed my flight to having a layover in Atlanta, Georgia for like 6 hours from 11:30 p.m. And I was like, I'm not going to make my family sleep in an airport during our vacation. So we just extended our vacation to Saturday. So we had a free day on Friday. So my hope was to go to Galaxy's Edge on that Friday. And of course, we all know that you need reservations and they sell out really quick. So that date was blocked out. So I was asking Colin and Brooke, hey, can you hook me up with tickets or something? You work there. And they said, no, we can't.
Nope.
And you got to do maybe check the website, refresh. And we actually got a hotel at Disney Springs. So I was able to walk from my hotel room to guest relations and talk to them. And they said, no, you see the same thing we see on your phone when you update for reservations. They may open up, but your chances are slim to none that it's going to happen. So I was kind of fine with the fact that I wasn't going to go to Galaxy's Edge, even though it was pretty much like right down the road. And my kids wanted to go, but I kept on checking. And at 2:00, it opened up. Reservations opened up. I bought the tickets. Well, no, Brooke had a great idea. If she would have given me that idea weeks ago, I probably would have bought tickets for Epcot and would have gone to Epcot and then park hopped at 2 p.m.
Well, that's what I thought you were gonna do. Like get like Animal Kingdom.
Everything was sold out.
Kingdom.
All
really?
reservations were gone.
Wow.
All reservations were gone. So I had to wait, and I was simply refreshing every about 30 minutes to an hour, just seeing. But I already told myself it's cool if I don't go. But we got the tickets, and I ended up going, and it was awesome. So thanks. So yeah, I got to go. And at Disney Springs, though, when I was checking for the tickets, I actually ran into the founder of the 501st, Albin Johnson, and I took this picture with him at the store. So me and Colin actually met him for the first time in 2017 at the gala that they had where Weird Al Yankovic sang at.
Wait, whoa. Is I was gonna say, okay. This is the Star Wars. It's not the Star Wars Trading Post, but it's the other one that is close
Outpost?
to like the Yeah,
it's next to the Marvel store. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay,
yeah, he was buying
Disney
something.
Springs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I ran into him there. We talked for a little bit. He said, yeah, he's ready to come on the podcast whenever we want him. So that's Albin Johnson, the founder of the 501st. So that was awesome. So we got to go on Smuggler's Run, the Millennium Falcon. I took this cool picture here So my youngest daughter sat in the, I think, solo seat, and my wife sat in the Chewie seat. And they did a pretty good job. The ride didn't end like really quick or anything. We got all the way through.
I'll say your daughter and wife didn't crash like instantly. We're good. Okay, cool.
So yeah, and we got to drink some blue and green milk. Here's a picture of my daughter drinking blue milk. She liked it. The green milk I tried for the first time. I didn't get to try it during Star Wars Week, Star Wars Day. So I did like the green milk better than blue. I wish it was the other way around.
Wow.
Okay.
So-
Well, we're no longer
Weird, huh?
Me kind of like, what?
No. I mean, I've always been I love classic. So as soon as they announced that they were doing the blue and green, I was like, all right, I'm going for blue.
Right.
And I loved it. And then I tried green, and I was like, no, it's blue all the way. But everyone's got their own preference.
Yeah. So yeah, and my wife will love blue more than green. So yeah, there's that. And of course, the final famous person that I met in my journey.
Ooh. Oh, I think I know who it is. Oh, darn it. I thought you were going to say Max Rebo because I saw you take a picture of him, but she's a lot better. I love you, sweetie. But yeah.
So yeah, I had this plan because I knew she was working in the Star Wars gift shop after you get off of Star Tours. So I had this whole plan where I was going to surprise her there, but she wasn't there. So at the very end of the day, Colin texted me. He's like, she's either there or another spot. So we were just randomly walking in the park, and I was just looking around, and I see her at the Frozen merchandise or whatever. So yeah, she was there. I totally surprised her. She didn't see me coming.
Oh, the Frozen sing-along show? Is that where she was?
It was where they sell the merch.
At the exit of it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like right in the center of Disney Springs, or no, Hollywood Studios. Okay.
She's right next to the Indiana Jones stunt show area. So it's like that shop, and then the Indiana Jones stunt show shop is right there. So she's like right in that area.
Yes, I remember this very well.
Yep.
So yeah, that was pretty much the last full day of my vacation. Like I said, I went to Universal Studios. I did the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, which is really, really good. It's screen accurate. It made me kind of wish Galaxy's Edge was the same way, screen accurate to the movies. Kind of made me jealous, but yeah, that was all cool. We had a great time. I think it was our best family vacation we've ever taken. We had a lot of lucky breaks. Yeah, I got on it 3 times. The first time they wouldn't let me get on it because the restraint wouldn't close, and I figured that I had a bunch of stuff in my pockets. I had my wallet.
I am surprised.
How'd they let you take those?
Yeah,
because you're supposed to like empty your pockets.
Yeah.
On that ride, they don't tell you that. They only tell you to put up your big stuff. But I mean, when you use a locker, you need your ticket to rescan to open the locker, and I just didn't want to have a paper ticket in my pocket, maybe fly away. I don't want to stick in my sock or something and get all soggy with sweat or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So
yeah, I did ask. I was like, should I take like stuff out of my pockets? He's like, I'd recommend you take any loose objects, hats, like anything you think you could lose, put it in the locker. And I was like, I could lose anything. So I put everything in the locker. And those lockers are small. So I was like playing Tetris, trying to get my bag in there.
Well, they have large size lockers. And
I did not get lucky because those were all like boop, boop, boop. And they're like, here's your locker. And I was like, but I want that one. And they're like, no.
But for the large lockers, you got to pay. I think for the small lockers, you don't.
No, those are all complimentary. And then the larger ones for like, and the
anyways,
only
back to the Star Wars stuff podcast.
The only exception is if you have like medical aid equipment that needs to be like stored. And I was like, I don't have like a respirator that I need to put in there, so I guess not.
So yeah, long story short, I've been to Galaxy's Edge twice now. That's all.
There you go.
What a good vacation.
I've gone 11 times, but
Would you live there, Colin? I mean, come on.
Yeah, he literally just went on a whim like last week with his.
I know.
He's like, great. Let's go to Galaxy's Edge. And I was like, I'm at work.
Awesome. Yeah. No, we just saw some openings. We were like, hey, let's go, and we ended up getting some blue milk, and we ended up going on Smuggler's Run, and I conquered Star Tours. That's a hard thing to do, to go to every planet and then also get the Rebel Spy. And it was really funny because I was talking to a cast member, and I'm like, yeah, I've done everything except Crate, and I've never been the Rebel Spy.
Right? Top left corner.
So we ended up going in, and we got all the main sequel stuff because we ended up going to Jakku, Crate, and then the final thing was Exegol. And then we ended up going to and then the end was actually going to Galaxy's Edge, and then I was the Rebel Spy, and I was like, this is great, like it all happened at once, and they don't have the buttons or the stickers anymore that says I was the Rebel Spy, so they ended up so I ended up
I saw
asking
that.
for
I
this.
noticed that. That's cool.
Yeah, I was like, I'm celebrating I was the Rebel Spy. But yeah, no. That experience was pretty cool.
So yeah,
It
I
was
did
pretty cool.
buy a few things that I'll show you if you're watching on YouTube. You can see I bought the Mythosaur skull
Yeah.
from the marketplace. I think it's from Regal Robot. It's pretty awesome. You can actually, it's very detailed. You can see the teeth.
How dense is it? Is it like heavy?
Yeah, not too heavy. It's got the little
like
teeth
wall
there
mount?
to hang up on the wall. Yeah,
That's so cool.
so yeah,
That's
I got
cool.
that.
We're gonna put that
somewhere on the wall, maybe behind me on the shelves. I don't know. I'm still
Yeah,
it out. I got the cup. Also,
they're like super out of stock on their lightsabers too.
Yeah.
So nice. I wonder why.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
I'm still mad about that. I'm still mad.
Because of the other day when we were there, I think they were only like four lightsabers on the shelf, and I was blown away by it. I was like, really? Is this all you got? And they're like, yeah, we've been out of stock for a while. I'm like, that's crazy. So, but yeah.
And I also bought these that I'm about to open right here on the podcast. So, these are
unboxing on the podcast.
Yes, for the very first time.
Only our YouTube watchers can really experience this in full HD.
Yeah, 720, but yeah, okay, yeah, it's HD. So yeah, so the red crystals, one out of every like 20 are black.
Did you buy one?
I bought two.
Okay, all right. Now this is really important because honestly, it's a rare thing to get a black crystal.
So I do have my lightsaber right here that I built at Savi's workshop, and I chose a purple crystal.
Yeah, let me see that hilt.
Great. That's.
Oh, she cute.
There you go.
Yeah, look at them.
Oh, wait, hang on. Here comes Ray. I just saw her lean down for a lightsaber.
No, sorry, I dropped something.
Her lightsaber.
It's Luke's.
So yeah, I tore off the plastic already. I haven't opened these yet, but I'm gonna open them now.
Open it, man. Open it. No. When you open it, you have to put it up to the camera.
I want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to see you untwist it.
Sorry. Is it red?
Yeah, it's red.
Okay. All right. You got one more.
All right. So here goes the other one.
Drum roll, everyone. Ready?
You have a 1 in 40 chance.
1 in 40 chance. Okay. Nope.
Oh. Stinks.
Pull it out.
I know someone.
It's like a golden ticket for Willy Wonka.
Yeah, it kind of is. So yeah, now I can actually put this in my lightsaber and it should light up red, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead
and try that. So
pop that purple boy
right
out
now,
and put
purple.
the red one in. Yeah.
All right, if I can get to it. How long is it going to take for me to open this thing, though?
I don't know, but
maybe you should have rehearsed this before. Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Well, I was gonna say because of now, people who are listening to the podcast won't be able to actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna narrate this. David, he is eagerly trying to open the compartment so that he can get to his Kyber crystal containment center, so he can take out the purple one and put in the red.
And there's a reason why this is called the Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
I'm just noticing his nice haircut. It's very clean.
Now you're getting a phone call. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's the lightsaber.
No, that's when you put the Kyber crystal
really?
in. There's that sound effect. Like when you take the lightsaber blade out of the legacy ones and it makes that. That's pretty accurate. I want to say that right now. But yeah, they have like these cool little sound effects, like when you like open the compartment and put a new one in. And it's like it like recognizes it. And it's like.
Right. Here we go. Turn it on. There you go.
Wow.
It works?
Now, how does that work with just the?
It's got like a sensor chip inside of it, and the LEDs already exist inside the lightsaber itself.
Okay. All right. The actual answer is that to make a Kyber crystal bleed.
Okay, get out. No, that's not what I'm asking. I know how that works.
It's the magic. You guys are ruining the magic. It's just a crystal. You put it in the lightsaber and it turns on. Yeah.
So you can see the chip inside of it. Right, like when you hold it up, there's a chip inside of it, and like when you put it inside the lightsaber, it senses which signal you're giving off, and it just tells which LED to turn on.
or it's just this crystal used within the Force.
All right.
Just put in this.
Okay, Colin.
And
Minnie Mouse is actually a guy wearing a costume. Ha! Gotcha.
So yeah, if you get a black crystal, it's still going to be red, right? I mean,
I don't know.
it's not going to be black, right?
Well, I mean, there's the dark saber. You never know. I
Which
don't
you
know.
can actually
I've
buy
never
now
seen.
in Galaxy's Edge.
You can.
And I hate. I don't like that they like announced that like the week after like Star Wars. I was like, what are you doing? Why?
Then
you
they
have
are
people
doing the
buying, like-
lightsaber from Cal Kestis from a Jedi Fallen Order too. So
Yeah, that was a fan voting one from like a while ago.
and then all of a sudden they were like, and we've got Rey's, and we've got Leia's, and we've got the dark saber. And I'm just like, then why did you have that whole like voting thing? Like, what's gonna be the lightsaber this year? We're doing
This year?
4. Yeah, I mean
That's just
come
within
on.
the first 6 months. Watch them drop like a couple more. Like here's
Yeah.
Mace Windu's. Like
Yeah,
Well,
well,
Yeah, I
yeah,
just
no,
want them on
yeah.
the Disney store. That's all I want.
yeah.
I want Rey's on the Disney store.
Well, because of Mace, I don't think Mace Windu's is in stock anymore. I think
it's not. I don't think it is currently, but it was when we were there on May 4th. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Because I was like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Is there any other Star Wars stuff we need to talk about?
There's some rumors we can talk about. Did you guys have time for that? A couple rumors.
I got a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple minutes for a couple rumors. We're gonna make that a
Because
segment on the podcast.
Okay,
We
but
hit 2
before we
hours
do
and 10
that,
minutes, yeah.
I know some people don't want to hear that stuff, so I'll just talk about our Patreon, Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187, YouTube, of course, Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We mentioned it several times. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod, Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast, and of course, we're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group. Now for the rumors that you've all been waiting for. So there's a rumor out there that it's gaining some traction, and some sources I trust are talking about it more frequently here, is the fact that Luke Skywalker will be showing up in the Book of Boba Fett.
But why?
What would he be doing there?
He's doing his own thing. Like he's trying to find, other Jedi, like other Force sensitive, kids to restart the Order. At this point, it wouldn't make sense for him to, get tangled with Boba Fett, because then like what is he just gonna be, wearing like his thing, and he's gonna carry like Grogu on his chest and be like, Boba Fett, like let's duel. Like it just doesn't make sense to me why Luke would show up.
Well, it makes sense because of the long, like, kind of leave, the long absence of the Mandalorian. I mean, it's going to be cool to see Luke and Grogu. I mean, you assume Grogu's going to show up too if Luke's going to show up.
Yeah,
unless it's going to be
Bjorn right here.
Unless it's going to be from like a different point of view where they show Boba surviving the Sarlacc pit. If they're showing that, that's nothing really new because we've seen that scene in Return of the Jedi. So we don't have much context to it, but that's the rumor that Luke will appear in Book of Boba Fett.
As long as he's not showing up just to show up, because I don't like it when they just put things in there just to do it.
Favreau and Filoni are in charge. I totally trust them.
I know, I trust him too. I'm just saying, I just don't want him to be in it just to be in it. Like,
yeah, and the other rumor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'm pretty much taking as gospel at this point, is the fact that he will be fighting someone other than Darth Vader with a lightsaber. And apparently the rumor is he's going to be fighting an Inquisitor.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a hunt for Obi-Wan.
That's pretty cool.
Jason Isaacs, who voiced the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels, who also played Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies, could totally come in and do live action Grand Inquisitor. This is like the prime of the Empire, and the Inquisitors are in full swing right now during this period of the Empire. So it would fit in perfectly, and then that would be like a good way for like him to be like, oh hey, I just fought Obi-Wan. Vader, tag me out, and then Vader comes in and hunts him down. Like that would be really cool to see.
Tag me out. He's like, I didn't do a good job. Can you help?
Well, yeah, dude, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, come on, man.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I do like the Inquisitor idea far more than I do like the idea of Luke Skywalker showing up.
All right, I thought you were going to say Max Rebo coming back, and I was like, all right,
He's
you're out.
obviously gonna be there, dude. Come
He's
on.
gonna
Oh,
be
yeah, I
there
mean, come
at
on,
this
man.
point. Yeah, Lucasfilm has heard our podcast.
I would say it's
They're
not
gonna
my
stick
only
him in.
favorite character. I know Ray secretly, loves Max Rebo as much as I do.
She signs off instantaneously.
She's like,
She's
all
like,
right, bye.
I gotta go.
And on that note, no. If anyone from Lucasfilm is listening, I would like to play Sabe, please. There, that's it.
All right.
Oh, if we're
Nice.
doing plugs for that, I'd be anything, literally anything.
I will be the puppeteer that just does the arm
Ooh.
stuff.
Do you know
Actually,
how to
well,
puppeteer?
I have tangled.
I
in
think
the
you'd be better doing the
puppeteer
leg
world.
operation because those are underneath, and I don't think you have that much skill with the
That was the old way they did it, but it's
the old
different
way,
now.
huh?
Yeah.
What's the new
Yeah.
way? Nah, that's a whole
Well,
other podcast. I don't want to hear
Yeah,
it.
I was gonna say you really don't want me to go into like an hour podcast about.
No,
talking
we're
about
already
that.
at 2 and 15.
I want to
yeah.
remote control Jabba's eyes. Okay, there, I said it. All right. For Colin, Ray, and Matt, my name is David. May the force be with you.
Always.